Welcome to the Women of Kriya Yoga Living in Joy podcast, a gathering place for women walking the spiritual path. Here we share stories, teachings, and reflections rooted in the timeless practices of Kriya Yoga. These conversations are an offering from the Women's Ministry of Kriya Yoga International, inviting you to rest in stillness, awaken your inner light, and connect with a community of women to support one another in living in joy. Our host is Marydale Ma, a devoted disciple of Paramahamsa Yogananda, whose boundless love guided her to the feet of her beloved Guruji, Paramahamsa Pragyanananda, within the sacred lineage of the Kriya Yoga International Masters. A seasoned yoga teacher and mentor for more than 40 years, she's trained in the Krishnamacharya tradition and founded the Param Yoga Healing Arts Center in California. Through her teaching and mentorship, Marydale supports seekers in awakening their highest potential and cultivating love, compassion, and equanimity through consistent practice. Our guest today is Rosa Harper. Rosa is an Ayurvedic practitioner and licensed massage therapist living and working in Asheville, North Carolina. Before diving into the health and wellness field, she worked with survivors of domestic violence in Austin, Texas for 9 years. In 2012, while living in Austin, Rosa was initiated into Kriya Yoga. She is honored to serve as a board member for the Pranana Wellness Center at the Temple of Compassion and also hosts a local Kriya group in Asheville, North Carolina.
Om and pranam, dear friends, and welcome to you. I'm so grateful you've chosen to join us today to be an important part of this heartfelt conversation. Before I introduce our beautiful guest, let us pause and truly arrive in this moment. Please silence your phone and turn away from distraction as you bring your full attention just here now. Allow your whole being to settle into stillness. And if you wish, close your eyes and begin to take your attention to the sweetness of your breath. As together we slow down, calm down. Father, Mother, beloved Lord, to our divine masters, our Param Guru Paramahansa Yogananda, our Guru Dev Paramahansa Hariharananda, and our Guruji Paramahansa Pragyanananda, and to all the auspicious masters of the Kriya Yoga lineage and beyond. We bow at your feet with humbleness on this day, with hearts wide open with gratitude for this wonderful opportunity to share the single voice of women in Kriya Yoga around the world. We pray that this conversation will be drenched in your presence and that this word will inspire, encourage, and uplift all who listen. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Father, Mother, God. Om Shantihi, Om Shantihi, Om Shantihi. Amen. Wonderful. And now it is my great privilege and pleasure to introduce our lovely guest. This is Rosa Harper. Pranams and welcome to you, Rosa. I'm so glad you're with us today.
It's so nice to meet you.
Yes, great to have you. And Rosa, let us begin at the heart. Can you share a moment from your life when you first felt that quiet call to help others heal, when you knew that service would be a part of your path?
That's such a beautiful question. And thank you so much for having me here today. Wow. I think that I think that people are born with that desire to help, especially as humans. Like we're born with this privilege of a human life. And as a child, I remember really seeing animals, insects even. I was really, I've always been really charmed by the little ones, the little beings of the insect kingdom. And so when I was a child, I used to spend a lot of time rescuing insects that would be trapped on our screened-in porch, for example. And so I would spend hours like watching for them and helping navigate them back outside if they were dehydrated, like giving them some water. And so, yeah, so I think most children have this desire to help the little ones, to help the vulnerable. I think this is just a natural quality of a human birth and the privilege of being in these human bodies with such great responsibility that they come with. So yeah, that's probably my earliest memories, as helping little insects. Yeah.
That is the sweetest thing. And I can just see you down on your hands and knees speaking to these little creatures. That's very, very sweet. Well, you spent 9 full years working with survivors of domestic violence. That's such a powerful, heart centered work. What did that experience teach you about strength, compassion, and maybe the resilience of the human spirit?
Yeah, so it was a deep honor. It was probably my first like calling as an adult, like the first real nudge from spirit, like you need to go there, you need to learn about that. I was volunteering. I had a friend who had done an internship at a women's shelter in North Charleston. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. And I remember just chatting with her about this internship. And first of all, I had no idea that there was such a thing as domestic violence shelters, that this was a thing. And I felt deeply called to go there and to volunteer. So I did. And I worked in their food pantry and I did some administrative stuff. And I remember looking at the advocates, the people, mostly women, who were working with the people in the shelter, who were mostly women fleeing dangerous situations, fleeing violence with their kids. And I remember looking at the advocates and being they looked like superheroes to me. And I was just like, I need to do that work. I'm going to learn something really important by doing that work. So when I moved to Austin in 2009, after a few years of what do I do after college? I decided to move to Austin, Texas, and find a job doing that work. And God provided a way for me to do that pretty easily. I started to work at an organization called Safe Place. It's now called the Safe Alliance in Austin, Texas. And yeah, they were generous enough to just let someone with, just the desire to be there, work there. And I did that work. I worked as an advocate for the women, mostly women, some men too, came through the shelters. But yeah, I learned so much from them. I learned so much from that experience. And probably the biggest thing I learned, and something that I've been contemplating about this podcast, like the strength of women in general, what I learned, one of the many things I learned, was just the power of listening. The power of listening to somebody's story. That was the most helpful thing that I did for these women. And I came in with ideas that I'm going to I have something to teach and I'm going to, no, I was the one who learned, I learned so much from them. And the thing that I learned, the biggest lesson, was just the power of listening. Like, what a gift it is to really listen to someone, especially people who their stories don't get heard so much. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
That's wonderful. And I can just imagine how delighted everyone at both the shelters in both places were thrilled to have you there with your open mind, open heart, and desire to learn how to help those in need. And throughout our podcast now, although this is only our 5th one, listening has become a common subject that women seem to gravitate to in a way that then becomes of service to others. So thank you for reinforcing that. And I just can't even imagine how wonderful you were in this particular role. But at what point did you begin to sense that your journey was shifting from advocacy to the world of healing and wellness? Was there a defining moment or maybe a gentle unfolding for you, Rosa?
It was definitely a gentle unfolding. I learned so much about, like you said, the resilience of, some of the people that I would listen to and talk to had been through just, you know, the worst things. And I consider it at this point like graduate level, like life lessons, like, going through that stuff. It's just, I have so much admiration for people who have survived trauma. Like they deserve all of our deep, deep respect. They're taking on the hardest lessons of life, and the ability to rise out of situations like that and heal. Like I just saw it happen all around me, and it really inspired me. So it was again, mostly women that I saw healing from the hardest things in life that really inspired me and got me interested in the mystery of healing, the mystery of trauma and healing and how we do it. So they were my teachers. They were the ones who inspired me. And then in Austin is really blessed to have this vibrant healing community. And so I got involved, actually, John Burgess, to saying hello to him out there. He's in Austin still, and he's a Kriyavan. He's part of our Kriya family. He actually is the person who showed me the doorway into Kriya, because there was an initiation happening, and I told him I really wanted to learn Kriya, and he helped me find it. So I got involved with him and an organization that he still runs called the Community Healing Circle. So I got connected to all these healers. Barbara Bureau is another person within our Kriya family who I found in Austin. And all these people really wanted to serve. They wanted to help. I told them about the work I did, and they were like, we want to help. So, people want to help. This is natural. This is a natural human instinct. And so I helped create little ways. And it's not always easy in the nonprofit world because everything has to be funded. And if it's not funded, anyway, anyone who's worked in a nonprofit knows that there's lots of red tape. But I did what I had to do to bring some of these people into the shelter. And I learned so much from the people that would come in and volunteer. Barbara Bureau led an acupuncture circle for PTSD for many years. That was a really, really cool program. So I learned a ton from her. And it just became clear as time went on that I felt called to do similar work. I really wanted to. I kind of reached a place with the advocacy where I felt like I was just putting, like these organizations do really important work, but there was more. There was something deeper that I needed to learn about, and some skills that I needed to refine. And so it was after coming back from India. I went to India in 2016 and 17 to do the residential brahmachari training. And when I came back, I went back into my same roles at the nonprofit I was working at, but it became really clear that, like, okay, it's time. It's time to like learn something new. It's time to turn a new page in a new chapter. And so I moved to New Mexico. New Mexico was like I kept kind of seeing these little hits like New Mexico, New Mexico. And so then I found there was a school there that I really wanted to go to. So I packed up my little car and left Austin, which was bittersweet. I really loved it there. And I found what I was looking for in New Mexico, which were teachers in the healing arts.
What a wonderful journey, especially for a young woman. And it's pretty impressive that you were able to follow your heart. And it led you to Ayurveda, which is such an ancient and soulful science of life. How did it find you, and what spoke to your heart when you first began studying it?
So really, learning yoga was my introduction to Ayurveda, because yoga and Ayurveda, they go together. They're sister sciences. And so in India, during the residential brahmacharya training, 2016, 17, Guruji, Paramahamsa Prajnananda, he taught, he taught a little bit about Ayurveda. It wove its way into that program and into the teachings. And so that fascinated me. and I wanted to learn more. I had the deep desire at that point to learn more. And, whenever you have an earnest desire, especially when it's within in the company of somebody, a self-realized yogi, somebody, a saint, God hears you. And so I really feel like that little prayer that I had was answered as I made my way to New Mexico and just kind of stumbled upon the Ayurvedic Institute and Dr. Vasant Lad. Yeah.
Is there really any stumbling in life?
I feel like I have stumbled. I'm still stumbling around in the dark, but we're really lucky to have a guiding light. Yeah.
A very bright one indeed. That's great. And just to back up just a little bit, and you said in 2012 you were initiated into Kriya Yoga. That's a sacred turning point. Can you take us into that experience and what it opened within you?
Yeah. God, I'm so grateful every day. I'm so grateful that I found Kriya. And I had started seeking a little bit before I found Kriya, and I had I as I'm like an amateur, I'm learning about Jyotish astrology now. So looking back, I can see that I was in a tough astrological point. I was in like a very Saturn was like right on my moon around the time I found Kriya. And I'm so grateful. It's a good reminder that these hard times in life that are so challenging can like usher in, they can be the most the biggest turning points. They can be such big blessings at the challenging times. So I was having a challenging time where I was looking, I turned my back on God for a while, and that's a long story. You can never turn your back on God, but I had stopped looking for God. And at that point, around 2011, 2012, I was at a low point. I was so sad. And I remember calling out. I just had an earnest prayer, and I didn't even know I was praying, but I just like earnestly called out for my creator, for my maker, to know what this is all about. And I could feel it land. I could feel like that earnest prayer land. And very soon after that, I found Kriya. And I was I was so fascinated. I had read Autobiography of a Yogi, and I just did the practice. I was just like, I'm going to do this 3 times a day, every day, and I'm just going to see if it works. I was just at that point, I was very disciplined. And yeah, as we know, it worked. My life changed so dramatically, as my mind came back into like a regulated state. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe the changes, but they were profound. And then I met Guruji some years later, and that was a whole nother type of transformational process.
Wonderful journey. So, can you kind of share with us how your Kriya practice then, being so dedicated, how did it shape your life, your work, and how you serve others today?
Yeah, that's a great question because it was hard. At that point, I was working in the shelter. I had this deep desire to help, and I was learning a lot, but I did not know how to handle some of the things that happened there, and some of the things I heard, and some of the things I saw. It was really hard, and I had some pretty negative coping strategies. Negative, just in like they were unhelpful to me physiologically. So when I found Kriya, wow, like I stopped doing a lot of the unhealthy things I was doing to cope with the stress and with, they call it vicarious trauma, but with the stress that I saw. And I remember doing Kriya. I had a little pillow and I would do Kriya in my office, like in the middle of the day, because I was doing it 3 times a day at that period. And yeah, it helped me so much. And gradually, as I practiced and as my mind kind of clarified, I stopped holding on to the things that I saw, like they stopped sticking to me, so to speak. And I started just seeing like the perfection in the person in front of me and in their situation, even if it was really awful, I started to see like, wow, like this, I started to see the beauty and the perfection in what they were going through while still holding everything, like not denying any of the hardness, but I started to kind of like see through it a little bit and to see how perfect it actually was for their life and their journey. And like, like I was a better advocate. I became a better support person and cheerleader for them because I could see like they're this hero in this journey. They're not a victim. And I always knew that, but I began to really have a sense that like they are the hero in this story and that like God is behind them. And just holding that for them was extremely helpful. I think it made me a much better advocate, a better helper.
Well, it sounds like you truly were living Kriya, not just as a practice, but as a way of being in the world everywhere that you were. And you were seeing, as we say in yoga, namaste, when we are greeting the soul within each of us, that same brilliance, that same incredible divinity. You were living that. And I know from your story and talking to you that you continue to do that each and every day. And I honor you for that, Rosa. It's wonderful. And you hold space for so many, let's face it, through Ayurveda, through body work, through spiritual service. How do you stay grounded and nurture your own peace while supporting the healing of others?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was just thinking like, yeah, so what Kriya did too is it helped my nervous system regulate. It helped me have a regulated nervous system, which I did not I did not have before Kriya. Um, so that is so helpful as a helper and as a healer, just to have a regulated nervous system yourself. And yeah, and like I said, just starting to see the perfection in everything, starting to see God in every situation, and acknowledging the presence of God in every situation. That's why I love body work. Because for some reason, when somebody is on the table, or if somebody, as an advocate, I felt the same way when somebody was in front of me, I can just, I can see God, I can feel God, and, um, and it's easy. It's easy to do the work. It's easy. It's beautiful. It's like meditation. It's even if the person on the table, perhaps in another context, would be someone who really triggered me. For some reason, when that they're in that role and I'm in the role as being a helper, it's just easy. Yeah, I really don't know how to verbalize it very well,
Well,
but
you're doing a great job. And I can see that you've managed to keep yourself grounded, but problems do arise in our life, stresses, tension. How do you nurture your own peace when you're going through something? What is your go-to?
that's a good
Healer,
question.
heal thyself.
I know that's the journey for all of us in the healing profession. Oh my
That's
gosh.
right. That's
Who is
right.
it? Edward Beish, the flower remedy guy. He has that manifesto, Healer, Heal Thyself. It's so
Mhm.
beautiful. I try to read
Mhm.
that uh, every once in a while to remind myself. So I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to do that. Kriya is extremely helpful, extremely effective. And sometimes it's hard to sit and do your practice when you're dysregulated, when you're stressed out. And the thing that is always easy for me to do, that is always regulating, is to go into the woods. Like, I'm a nature girl. I've always found God in nature. It's been a touchstone for me since I was very small. And so I go into the woods. I go sit by a river and I listen. That listening again, like I listen. And the voice of God in the form of Mother Nature, thank God for whatever reason. I know most of us can hear it, but I can always hear it. I can always connect to that. And yeah, that's my go-to when I need nourishment. I go to her, like capital H. I go to Mama Nature. Yeah.
That's so full of grace, and especially from how you started out today, talking to us about your love for all the little critters in the world, because that's where they all are. And I can just see you like Snow White with the birds fluttering down to bring you their message of love. That it's wonderful. And to clear ourselves from the big city and all the racket, to be able to go to the Great Mother, that's a very wise and precious thing that you do. And I see clearly that you've worked in both worlds, the advocate and the healer. How has the divine feminine guided or expressed herself through these different chapters in your personal life and in your professional life?
Yeah. So the divine feminine, this was a concept, that was kind of new to me, like theoretically, when I found Eastern religion, Eastern philosophy, like the Divine Mother. That was new to me, and I was very drawn to it. And I know it does exist in the West. Catholicism, worships the Mary and the Divine Mother in that way. But, intellectually, that was a new concept to me. But as a lived experience, like I said, all of this is Ma. All of this is the Divine Mother. All manifested creation is her. So I'm really grateful to Eastern philosophy for just like saying that explicitly and making that very clear. But it is also just a felt sense, I think, that we all have. Like we're all, especially when we're in natural places that are undisturbed, we can feel her holding us, loving us, listening to us. So, and especially doing the work at the shelters. Like I became just so amazed at the power of motherhood. I mean, superhuman abilities are given to mothers by God. Like, I truly believe that because I would see a mother, perhaps with 5 or more children, absolutely all the cards stacked against her, work miracles for her kids. Like, absolutely be able to do things no human being should be able to do. And so they also just taught me, just watching these mothers in these really hard situations pull everything together and like work miracles for their children. Like it really, yeah, I saw so much of what I understand about the Divine Mother. I learned there from them.
In real time,
Mm.
which makes it so precious because we know as Kriyavans that the Divine Mother has so many aspects and so many images, and yet they're all one and they all live within us. And so it's I think an act of grace that God was able to put you in a situation where you learned that on your own and have been able to bring that forward into your current role as healer. And you'll always be an advocate, which is great. Which kind of brings me around to asking you to tell us a little bit about the Pranata Wellness Center. I know you serve on the board at the Temple of Compassion, and we would just like very much to hear what that is, what you do, and what has been the evolution of this center.
Yeah, so pranada, like anything that is touched by Sri Guruji, it's flowering. Like, it's just flowering in such a beautiful way with very little, honestly. I mean, I'm not going to say there's not effort on the part of all of the people who are there stewarding it, but it's his grace completely. And yeah, it's really exciting. So Olene Adams is our director and sort of the captain of the ship of Pranada. Bowing to him, he is such an amazing healer, such an amazing human being. So he has a lot to do with what's happening with Pranada, but there are a lot of other people too. And yeah, it started out with just a little wellness retreat that we tried experimentally. And that's been going on for 4 or 5 years now. And that's an amazing event. It's once a year in the spring at the Temple of Compassion. And what Olene has done is he has bridged traditional osteopathy with Ayurveda and, the science of yoga and the Vedic sciences in general to create a really profound healing experience. And what I was saying earlier, the language I was using where I could see the perfection in this person in front of me and in this situation, this is really like, I can use those words now because those are really from him. Part of how he works is to see the health, to see the perfection in his clients. And that guides the work that he does. It's the simplest and most profound healing technique, if you can call it that I have ever come into contact with. And so I bow to him and his teachings there. I still have a lot to learn from him. So yeah, Pranada has flowered now we have an actual physical center located very close, right next to the Temple of Compassion. And with Guru's grace, it will continue to flower into a place where people can be served around the year with Ayurvedic medicine and with osteopathic medicine and probably many other types of forms of medicine that lead people towards more wholeness. It's really exciting what's happening with Pranada.
It is very exciting. It's a real gift to all Kriyavans everywhere. And the Temple of Compassion, just for those of you who don't know, is in the state of Texas, in Burton, Texas. And you're certainly welcome and encouraged to go and experience this divine center, which Guruji brought into being to honor the feminine, to honor women in Kriya. It's the women's ashram, and it's very exciting for us to have a special place like this. And with that, it leads me to another question. You're currently leading a Kriya group in Asheville, where you live in Northern California. What does this spiritual community mean to you, and how has it enriched your path? Got a lot of hats on, lady.
I mean, I'm not leading anything in Asheville, but I was really blessed to find a beautiful home, and and it's just a reminder that like what the Guru says comes to fruition, because Guruji said something very briefly to me once as I was getting ready to actually move from Austin to New Mexico. He was like, "Oh, maybe you'll start a center there." I remember being like, "What?" And then I moved to Albuquerque, and there was a center. I completely forgot that he had ever said that. And then I moved to Asheville. I land in this really beautiful home. It was total grace that has provided this home for me and protected it amidst the storm that we had a year ago. But I remember landing in this home, and there were some renovations we had to do, and we had pulled up all the carpet, and I was sitting in the living room looking at the fireplace. And I just remember sitting there and just feeling that there were people meditating there. And I could see that this was a place I could feel it. I was like, oh, there's going to be an altar here. and people are meditating. I just had a moment where I could kind of see that. And again, I kind of forgot about that. And then again, as things do that are like touched by the guru, it just happened. The roommates that I was rooming with really beautiful students, 2 women students at the Ayurvedic Institute, and they got initiated into Kriya at the Temple of Compassion. And they were chatting with someone, Adeshji, I think, from the Charlotte Center, and he was just like, "Oh, you guys should start. You should be a center." And it just happened. So I host this house that I'm in, hosts a local group in Asheville, and it's slowly growing. Very blessed to have the support of the Charlotte, North Carolina Kriya Center. Ajesh and Sujata and all of the amazing people there, Banu, Baba. So yeah, super, super happy to be hosting a center here.
Oh, that's so nice. And it's in your home, which
Yes.
brings you triple the blessings.
I'm telling
The
you.
guru's watching you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I have to remember that. I have to remember that as I'm misbehaving, in the little ways that I do. But yeah, and really knowing that the guru's presence was here, because it is here, like they're here. And like I said, we had the storm come through last year, Hurricane Helene, and it devastated Asheville, northwestern North Carolina. And this house that we're in is on the Swannanoa River, which had epic flooding over 25 feet, maybe even upwards of 30 feet. It swelled, and many, many people and houses were washed away. And for some reason, I was at the Temple of Compassion when the storm was coming through. And I was, of course, panicking on the inside for all my friends and everybody that was here. But I knew that the house was fine. I knew for some reason I had nothing to worry about. And I just kept visualizing the altar in the living room and the pictures of the gurus. And I was like, we're okay. We're protected. I know my little place is protected. And it was miraculous how the river came like right up to the back of the house and just went around it. And no trees fell in the house, nothing. So yeah, so grateful to the presence of the gurus in my life. It's their grace. Yeah.
Wonder of wonder. So blessed. I love that. And you have proven to be a very sensitive, extremely present healer. What has it been like for you to witness others awaken and to see the light come into their eyes as they begin to reconnect with their inner joy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's all God, right? And God is there no matter if we are awakened to him, her, like God is always there. So this is one of the things I love about doing body work, doing healing work. It doesn't matter if they are awakened to it. It's there. It's there. It's living. It's awake. No matter if the consciousness of the person is awake, God is just there. And I think just acknowledging that, and that's where the healing, at least in my limited experience, that's where the most healing energy comes from. And whether people are aware of it or not, it's there. And it's there for me. It's what I love about doing Ayurvedic therapies in particular, is just articulating with that and having somebody be open to you articulating with that. It's not always easy when you're in other contexts, but when somebody is surrendered on the table and open, and you can just commune together with that thing that connects all of us, that loving presence that's in everyone. Yeah, it's there. It's beautiful whether we are aware of it or not. I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does. It does. And it also reinforces how important it is for people to know that they're being heard, which is one of your great skills that comes back to that listening. And Rosa, in your experience, how can Kriya and Ayurveda help people to rediscover their own inner light and live more consciously each day?
Well, I think that Kriya in particular, any kind of meditation practice just puts you in touch with who you are. And which is a movement, as Oline would say, a movement towards wholeness. All healing is a movement towards wholeness. And there's nothing better for that than going within and remembering, like, oh, like God is here. I'm part. The wholeness is always here. And Kriya, I think, is unparalleled in helping people to articulate, to get back in touch with that wholeness. And Ayurveda is so helpful because, again, it's a sister. It's the sister science, a sister science to yoga. And it just helps the body come back into balance. It helps us be, if our bodies are in balance, if our minds are in balance, then we can remember we're not just as distracted by the body. A body that's out of balance is very distracting. It's hard to remember who you are when you're in pain, when you're suffering, when the body is being so distracting. So Ayurveda just helps God flow through the body. It helps prana, the flow of prana. It helps the body stay harmonious and balanced so that you can better remember and better experience yourself as the perfection that we all come from, that's inherent in all of us.
Well said. Do you think that there is a simple way for those who are not familiar with Ayurveda to put their foot on that path? What would you recommend for someone to get acquainted or start?
Wherever you're called to go. So I found Ayurveda in very little steps, like when it comes to integrating Ayurveda into my life. I found Triphala. I remember finding Triphala and being like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to see what happens. And wow, like, whoa, it helped me. It helped. Triphala does so many things. I won't get on a soapbox about Triphala now, but it helped my body to function a lot better, and made my life easier. And so then I found another little thing and I implemented it. And then I found another little thing and I implemented it. And so just follow the breadcrumbs, just like the things that led me to Kriya. I just followed the little breadcrumbs. I did the same thing with Ayurveda. So just try one little thing. I think people can get intimidated by there's something in Ayurveda called the Dinacharya, or the daily routine. And there's like a million things you're supposed to do in the morning. It's overwhelming if you read all the things that you're supposed to do to have like an Ayurvedic routine. So I would just say choose the one thing that's calling you and experiment with it. I recently reread Gandhi's autobiography, My Experiments with Truth. And I love that title and his approach. And yeah, so I just encourage people to get curious and try one little thing, and don't try to do it all at once, because yeah, that's overwhelming. And, baby steps are best.
That's great advice, especially in a world where people want everything right now. I think that in these ancient sciences, we have to understand that they're huge, and they go on forever. And the deeper you go into them, the deeper they get. So those were very wise words. And I hope those listening who are curious will begin today. Just hop online and begin your journey. That would be great. And finally, Rosa, what message from your own heart would you like to leave our listeners today? Something that you carry that they might share as they walk their own path of healing and awakening?
That's such a good question, such a big question. And the first thing that's coming to my mind, again, circling back to listening, is just to give yourself the gift of your own awareness and your own attention, your own loving attention. So to listen to yourself the way you might listen to a beloved friend. Yeah. And really, so much of what we do when we meditate is just to turn inward and listen to what's going on here. So yeah, that would be my advice, is just get more comfortable listening, get more comfortable in the quiet spaces, and yeah, and give yourself that loving attention that maybe, especially as women, I think that we tend to take care of others. It's one of our strengths. It's also a potential weakness, is our attention is often more focused on others than it is on ourselves. And so, and we often don't have a lot of people taking care of us as adult women in general. So yeah, specifically to the women out there, just listen to yourself, give yourself the loving attention that you would give a child, and yeah, bring that mothering quality that comes so naturally to so many women back to yourself.
That was a wonderful gem that you have given to us to complete our conversation. Each and every one of us is in the end responsible for who we are and who we're becoming. And that should start with loving ourselves enough to give ourselves care. And you're a living example of that, Rosa. As a young woman, you have marched steadily upon a path that's led you directly into a very big life that is affecting many. And we just wish you every good thing and are so grateful for your sincerity, for the grace you've shared, for your steady practice. And you've reminded us that your journey is one of healing. It's not a destination, but it's a continuing unfolding, if you will, a coming home to who we truly are. So we thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us today. Thank
It's been an
you.
honor. Thank you so much, Marydale. I would love to hear more about your story soon.
It's nothing. I'm just so happy that you're with us, and I hope to meet you in person soon and encourage everyone to find their way to the Temple of Compassion so you can also be with Rosa and the rest of the Pranata team. And if this conversation has touched your heart, which I can't imagine it has not, I invite you to connect with our growing community by subscribing to our Women of Kriya Yoga YouTube channel, or by following us on our Apple podcast and perhaps Spotify. Your kind comments and reflections truly help this work reach others who are seeking a deeper way to live in joy. Until next time, take these words of our divine Guruji. He has written, as the soul lies within the body, the real center of love is within oneself. Love begins from within. From individual love, it grows into universal love. Perfect love is the state of being one with the universe, in love with the Creator. Blessings to each and every one of you, and much love. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is brought to you by the Women's Ministry of Kriya Yoga International. You can learn more about the ministry at our website, womensministryofkriya.org. Kriya Yoga is a powerful meditation practice that awakens constant communion with the divine through the science of the breath. Handed down from teacher to student in an unbroken lineage of enlightened masters, it transforms body, mind, and heart, helping us be calmly active and actively calm. Today, this living tradition welcomes seekers everywhere through the guidance of Paramahamsa Pragyanananda, the principal disciple of the great master Paramahamsa Hariharananda. To learn more about Kriya Yoga, please visit kriya.org.